Fingerboarding is a lot of fun, and when done well can look almost easy and effortless. However, it surprisingly takes a good amount of skill, practice, and patience to get good at. In this video, I'm going to go over some tips and tricks on how to get good at fingerboarding as fast as possible. To get started, you want to get a setup that is meant for doing tricks. I have a full video going over the best setups for all different budgets. Highly recommend checking that video out if you're looking for a setup, but this is a standard tech deck with a plastic board, metal trucks, rubber bushings so the trucks can turn, and plastic non-bearing wheels. And these come with standard sandpaper grip tape, great for learning on. Next step up is going to be a budget complete. These are available from a lot of different companies for around $20 to $30. And they're going to have plastic bearing wheel, upgraded trucks, a little bit nicer tuning from the tech deck, as well as wheels that spin a lot nicer, and foam grip tape. And they're also a lot lighter and easier to pop than a tech deck. And the next setup from that would be a pro setup. This is my main setup, which is an Obvious 34.5 millimeter street shape board. It's a watermelon dragon collab with Obvious trucks, teak tuning bubble bushings. And these wheels are custom urethane abstract wheels from Redemption with ABEC 9 bearings. And they're super smooth bearings and they're pretty broken in. They have a good amount of free spin as well. I personally really like the urethane wheels because of the realistic feel as well as the added grip, and it makes some tricks a little bit easier and more consistent. For grip tape, there are a lot of different options available. I highly recommend trying out a handful of different ones just to see what works best for you. This is gecko tape from Teak Tuning, which is super grippy, and frosted tape from Obvious, which is not as grippy, and foam grip tape, which is right in the middle, which I personally prefer. A quick tip before getting started practicing tricks is to wash your hands. Whether you've been snacking and got some Cheeto dust on your fingers, or just naturally throughout the day our hands produce oil, it's a good idea to wash your hands with soap and water. So give a little bit more grip and control on the board. The next tip is to wipe down the surface that you're going to be practicing on. Even if it looks clean, there's dust and dirt that can build up, and it can make so the wheels don't roll as smoothly, which makes the tricks not as consistent. And lastly, cleaning off the grip tape with some clear tape or some scotch tape even can make it so that grip has a lot more consistency to it, and also just looks a little bit cleaner. This works with a standard tech deck, but definitely works the best on a foam grip tape, where the foam grip tape has a little bit more tendency to build up dust and dirt. And you can definitely see it cleaning it off, but it helps give the grip tape kind of like a new feel and a lot more grip just by cleaning it off. With the foam grip tape, I personally try to clean it weekly to keep it as consistent and grippy as possible. And also make sure to be careful not to peel too hard and cause damage. This was actually done because my nails were a little too long, but I also highly recommend keeping your nails on the shorter side if you want to be able to get your fingers a little bit more upright and get even more control. And it also, with foam grip tape, is less likely to do damage to the grip tape if your fingernails are short. When I first was learning flip tricks, I found having my finger flatter on the board was a lot easier to get kick flips, and it seemed more consistent. However, the more I got used to the board and doing more like heel flips and nollie heel flips, I found having my fingers a bit more upright actually helped a lot more to get a little bit more precision and control on the board. So I definitely recommend trying to play around with both and doing what's comfortable at first, but definitely working towards having your fingers a little bit more upright, and it'll definitely make the tricks look a little bit cleaner as well, especially if you can land with your fingers a little bit more upright as well. However, those are much more advanced tricks, and if you're just learning flip tricks, it's definitely a good idea to start off simple. And one of the best basic foundation tricks you want to learn is going to be the shuvit, or having the board turn 180 degrees by kind of scooping the board with your back finger towards you and having the front finger kind of guide it, and just getting the right amount of spin and then landing on the board. And you can also do the same trick, but do a full 360 rotation. And another trick that I like to do for a little bit of board control is pressing down on the board so it flips over on my finger, and then straight up so it does a half rotation up. Once you have the shuvits down, just by adding a little bit of pressure to the board with your fingers and then pressing down on the tail when doing the shove it motion, it'll make the board pop into the air, making it a pop shuvit. One of the most important tricks you'll want to learn for doing flip tricks is going to be the Ollie, or jumping the board. And I have a full tutorial on this trick, as well as how to do impossibles, which is more of a scoop trick, and then kickflips, which is also a pop trick, just like an ollie, where you pop the board. And for the most part, one of the hardest tricks to learn on a fingerboard, it is the simplest, is going to be the ollie. So really learning those and getting them dialed in is pretty important. Once you get the fundamental tricks down, like shuvit and pop tricks, you can combine them together for more advanced tricks, like a tray flip, also known as a 360 flip, where the board does a full 360-degree rotation, as well as a kickflip. And these tricks, once you have the basic sound, seem kind of complicated, but they're actually pretty easy, and it just takes trying them a handful of times to get the amount of rotation down. Once you have a few tricks down, it can be fun to string the tricks together in a consecutive line. This is also a really good way to get more consistent, and also focusing on trying to catch the board a little bit higher in the air by popping it a little bit faster and higher, and then catching it at the peak of the pop. This makes the tricks look a lot cleaner. For consistent improvement, it's good to be intentional with your tricks and try to land the tricks that you're going for, but sometimes it also can be good to learn how to go with the flow. And if you land a trick that you didn't actually intend to, just go with it and then try and do a trick out of it. And sometimes you learn more just by doing that. Having a nice even flow is important to making a line look good. It's also important to keep the tricks somewhat straight in line when landing. One bad habit you'll definitely want to avoid is rolling backwards when doing pop tricks. This improper technique to ollie will make trick lines almost impossible to make look flowy. And it also make other tricks like kick flips and heel flips a lot harder to do because it's not an actual pop. So learning how to get a proper pop is super important for the ollie. If you notice that you are rolling back when you do your ollies, you can fix the habit by forcing yourself to roll forward even like an inch or two and then doing the ollie. Once you get into doing more flip tricks, a good way to improve is to record yourself. And I just use my phone in the slow-mo mode. Make sure that's at 240 frames and turn it upside down, and then using the up and down volume button to start the camera. And then I make sure it's in focus and do the trick. And in regular motion, it looked pretty good, but I'm gonna go ahead and slow it down. And using the slow-mo slider, I'm just gonna go ahead and make it so it slows down where I want it to. And I'm gonna slow down a little bit more. And in the slow-mo, I can see that the board pretty much hits the ground right before I catch it. So I'm gonna go ahead and try this one more time and see if I can do it a little bit faster and catch it in the air. The second time around, I was able to get a little bit cleaner and faster. And keep in mind that self-filming can be a little bit challenging. So if need be, you can also put your camera in a stand and just do the tricks directly in front of it. This is also a really good way to see if the board is going straight. And also for flip tricks, if you're getting the right amount of rotations for the trick you're trying to go for. Once you've gotten down the basic tricks, the next thing you can do to progress is learn the trick in the opposite direction. So for shuvits, learning front side shuvits. And for kick flips, heel flips, where the board rotates the opposite way. This will give you a lot more control as well as variety in your tricks. And you can also learn to do the tricks off of the nose and tail, and in both directions from left to right and right to left. Doing tricks off of the nose or nollie tricks can be the most challenging, as well as in the opposite direction, which are switch tricks, but just have patience with them and definitely check out some tutorials. I have a full nollie tutorial up on the channel now, and I'll be working on some more switch trick tutorials soon. Once you have a good amount of flat ground tricks down, the next step in getting better is doing tricks onto obstacles like a ledge or a grind rail. Having an obstacle that is intended for fingerboarding can be really nice. However, you don't need an obstacle that is meant for fingerboarding to get better. You can use a book or a small box, anything that makes it so you have different ledges and things you can do tricks on. I made this DIY bench out of Jenga blocks. There's a full video on the channel if you want to check that out. And there's also a bunch of obstacles from a bunch of different companies that are available. This is a grind right round rail. And learning to do different grinds as well as board slides can be a lot of fun. And if you're not sure of trick names, you can always play games or watch other skaters and watch some videos and tutorials for learning the different grinds and board slides. In the upcoming videos, I plan on making a full separate tutorial video on how to do grind tricks and board slides. If there's any specific tricks you want to see in there, let me know in the comments. And the next tip I have is to go outside, get a breath of fresh air, touch the nature, and do some street seshing. Finding a cool outdoor spot to sesh can be a lot of fun, and also an added challenge of doing tricks on some surfaces that are not as smooth as well as not as predictable. Definitely makes it so you have to kind of compensate for all of the different surfaces. My last tip for this video, since fingerboarding actually does take a while to get good at, I recommend learning to enjoy the process of learning. And even if you make mistakes or you can't get a specific trick down, don't give up and just try to be consistent. Even if you can only do like 10 to 15 minutes a day, it'll help you progress over time. And most of all, stay creative and have fun. That about wraps up this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you do have any other questions, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications for when I post my newest videos. And last but definitely not least, I want to say a huge thank you to all the new and returning channel members. Thank you so much for your support and donations, as well as feedback. And also a big thank you to not only the channel members, but also people in the community that have been leaving comments and sharing the videos out. Huge thank you for all the support. I'll leave with a list of everyone that has been super supportive. Thanks again, and until next time, peace.